Number 3 in our series is the curse of disruptive innovation. I've got to believe you've heard over the past few years the term disruption thrown out many, many times. And yet when sitting with decision makers and I say, what do you mean by disruption? The answers are as far-fetching and out of touch sometimes as you can imagine. The word disruption to many people is to get rid of something or to destroy somebody else, and they're always pushing people to be disruptive. Well, by understanding what's happening in disruptive innovation, I believe, that's my take, is that if you can understand it, you can better be able to focus your energies on how to be disruptive or when to be disruptive. So let's start with the conceptual side of it. Disruption is not where you see something coming. Disruption is something that happens that jars somebody. You are taken by surprise. So let's look at a diagrammatic view. This was how disruption actually happens in the space if you look throughout history. What happens is you take your traditional S-curve, which we've gone over in the past, which goes up and over, and there's that tail where you have that cash cow. There's another industry that has a curve that's happening, and they're doing different things. And at some point, the top of the cash cow, where you expected to make your money, that disappears. For some reason, somebody else over here takes a technology, takes a concept, a new model for business development. In San Francisco today, there's a lot of innovation in business models, and they put it on top of yours. And almost as if overnight, where you have no chance to react, disruption sets in. You don't have that chance to jump the curve. You didn't see it happening. This was by far what you don't know. Now, in San Francisco, for example, I'm going to use that in Silicon Valley, they use the term disruption. People are sitting around saying, air conditioning units, that's right for disruption. Where can we disrupt it? How can we disrupt it? Could we disrupt it in the value chain, in the delivery component, in the logistics supply side, in the parts component? Can we disrupt it on, the model, the tools, all of that? And what they're doing is they're trying to figure out a way where if you're in the industry, you wake up one day and wham, you're done. It's not going to happen for you. It's a neat space to be in. The challenge is, how do you fight it? Well, let's take an example that you know or at least heard about. Let's go all the way back to music and records, the vinyl records. Well, vinyl records, I just saw this yesterday on a YouTube or a clip on, vinyl records are on a comeback. There are companies out making vinyl records because people want that digital sound, but they want the old sense. But it's not like it used to be. Imagine this, the world was full of vinyl records. I grew up, I'm 52, I had the little tiny, I don't even remember what they're called, but they were the little records, the 45s, and then we had the big LPs. And we had them in our little boxes and we saved them in our friends and they were scratchy in sound, and then along came what was called the 8-track player. Oh my God, I remember having an 8-track player, and we'd stick in the cassette and we'd play it, and then came the little cassette players. And then came the portable cassette players that, with the CDs. Then we moved to digital. And then we've moved to individual, the digital came to us in songs that we could use. And now we're seeing even that being disrupted in how it's being delivered. You don't just buy a song, you buy a month package, and you get all the songs in the world you want. So the music industry has been transformed and been disrupted over and over and over again. You can probably name in your space where there's been some disruption. Here are 4 things that you can do using pay-to-think's model of enterprise thinking. 4 things you can do to be able to be ready or be more prepared, because you can't stop it, you just have to be more prepared for it, for innovation or disruption that's happening, that might happen to you. First thing is this. Let's take the 4 quadrants where we have performing, we have learning, we have strategizing and forecasting. We'll start off with strategizing. You could start looking at alliances you can create, alliances that you can bring, acquire, merge. You can be involved in that and bring them into your space so that you can jump the curve too. That's why you get companies like Kellogg and Google and the list is large, who are acquiring companies because they know internally it's very difficult to generate that volume. But external, I can buy the technology and now have disruption happen within our own firms. We have the people who are disruptive coming in. It's very difficult to be, you can't be disruptive to yourself. This is no longer disruptive. It is now innovative. Remember, disruption comes from the outside, you don't see it coming. Innovative is what you do internally. So that's number one. Let's go to the next one. Let's say we're learning. You can spend time learning about competition, learning about new products, materials, learn about how other companies or organizations are addressing similar challenges. You can look and be aware. You could be one of those people who's informed. And therefore, it's not as much of a surprise because you've already been part of that think tank of understanding. We've got the performing side of it. In the performing side of it, you could be actively engaged in going out and pursuing disruptive technologies. You could be involved in making sure that you invest in them so that you are a part of it. You have the last one is forecasting. And if you do this well, you're going to see it coming. Because forecasters are looking at signs that information technologies are merging, they're coming together. And you could see it coming. I mean, think about watching a video, and as you're watching it, you see a car coming this way and another car coming this way. You know they're going ahead. You can, just by the heart of who you are, you say, that one's going too fast, that one's not paying attention. Bam, done. Same thing. If you are watching and you learn to watch, you can identify those opportunities. Now the challenge becomes in this space is if you're not doing that, how can you be taken off, you could be taken off guard. It's not an easy thing to be part of disruption. Yet at the same time, if you're not playing the game today, or at least thinking about it, let me jump a little bit. I was in a meeting in California just recently, a conference, and I'm sitting next to this woman, and she talked about disruption. They were talking about on the panel about disruption, and they said how valuable it was and what it does to the marketplace. And I looked at her and I said, yeah, but for every disruption, there's something that's also bad happening too. And I wish I knew, for all the disruption that people talk about as positive, what was the disruption that was negative? For example, there was one company who had presented at this event. They'd come up with a technology to help farmers, truckers, and retailers get produce from the marketplace. What happens right now is brokers are in the middle. A broker finds product, they contact them, they get the trucker, they contact them, and then they make sure that the retailer gets the product that they'd like. They aggregate orders. They give the trucker the ability to be able to make a living. And they often will make a lot of money in the process if they do this well. Well, this company is coming in disruption saying, you don't need the broker. What we can do is we can put it all online, put it on a platform, and if this farmer and this farmer and this farmer have a load, the trucker can come pick up all four, meet the needs of the wholesaler, and look at how much more efficient we are. We are now productive. We took friction out of the system. And I said to her, yeah, but let's look at it this way. There was one guy about 30 years ago, starting a family, just got married. He wants to be a broker. See, he sees his friends, they've got farms, and he wants to help them to move their product. And he's got truckers he knows have open loads. So he works hard, he goes out with pen and paper, and he introduces each other, gets them together. Oh, he's making some money, not a lot, doing well, and the retailer's happy. As he progresses, business becomes better, he's got a network, they're making phone calls, he's moving goods. And he finally has 2 children, they're growing up, they're starting to go on, they need money for living and expenses, and he finally has it. And along comes somebody who wants to be disruptive and say, we need to take this guy out of the loop. Well, that person had finally got to the end of their S-curve. Let's go this way. They were disrupted in the business that they had built because they weren't paying attention to what was happening in the marketplace. They could have and may invest in a company that's doing what they're going to do, yet there's always a consequence to new decisions that are made, some positive, some negative. And I said to her, I just wish I knew what, or saw more, or understood more of what was happening. So in your case, you might say this doesn't happen to me or can't happen to me, or I see it in other places, and yet it's happening all around you. Open up your eyes, take a look around, because the world's changing, and you will be hit by disruption no matter what you do, no matter where you are. So I like this little section. I'm hoping you did too.